Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. We're your hosts, Calvin Timms and Dale Terry. You can find us over on Twitter at TDC_Calvin, at Dynasty_Dale. And we're excited. We are finally done with the full offseason recap for all 32 teams. Make sure you go check those out if you haven't just yet. But we're rewarding ourselves with a mock draft, and this one's going to be a little different. I know we're a Dynasty podcast, but we are officially into the month of August. The Hall of Fame game is going on right now, presumably. I believe it is. I haven't checked the box scores yet. I'm not really caring that much, to be honest with you, but I do think that with redraft coming, it's a good time to, sharpen our skills a little bit for redraft, see how the value differentiates between that and Dynasty as well. It never hurts to be in a couple of redrafts just to see how some of the value of some of these players kind of falls. So that's it. We're going to be using Sleeper, and that's about it for me. Dale, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm just glad football's back. We have something to actually, I don't want to say live for, but I guess you could say that, it's just a culmination of everything that we've been preparing for all off season, and it's finally almost here.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% there. It's going to be fun when it does finally. The first week rolls around, only a couple more weeks away. It's going to be good times. We're going to see, there's a lot of news that's potentially still going to break that, we're just kind of waiting to see what happens. You've got the JT saga, whether they're going to trade for him. There's a lot of rumors that the Chiefs might be in on that. I don't know, but that's interesting. Josh Jacobs still hasn't signed. All assumptions are he'll eventually make his way to sign that contract, but it's a real possibility he might sit out this year as well. And then, there's just a lot of free agent running backs out there as well. So a lot of news, a lot of changing here in the next couple of weeks, but that's what makes it more fun, in my opinion. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So Dale, any last things you want to jump into?
I'm excited to mock. I can't wait.
All right, so we're going to be doing, like I said, a redraft mock draft. And, the surprising thing is I am biased, right? Because every league I'm in is a super flex league. Even my work league was a one quarterback, and I've convinced them to go to a super flex dynasty league, right? So I don't do much one quarterback. The valuations on these guys are going to be very foreign to me, right? Because I'm used to Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, these guys being the top 3 picks in a draft and everything. But the surprising stat to me was only about 25% of active leagues out there are actually Superflex. 75.
And that's wild.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's honestly wild to me.
It is crazy. So 75% of them are actually one quarterback. So we're going to make this one quarterback for this league, for this mock draft, just so that we can kind of, play to that audience as well, but also make sure that we're staying sharp on all our evaluations of these guys and making sure that we're not giving you bad advice when we're talking about guys, just because from a super flex to a one quarterback, the values can swing wildly between some of these players. So we want to practice one quarterback. We're going to have 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, full PPR, tight end, 1 tight end, and 3 flex. So we're going to go through 10 rounds here. After the 10th round, it's kind of a stab in the dark anyway. You just take the guy you want with the best upside, but we'll be going along here and giving our thoughts. I randomized it before we started here, and I ended up with the number 2 overall pick. It was fully above board. I don't know how that happened, but I managed to get it, so that's pretty fun. But I like this one a little bit as well because Dale is picking at number 4 overall, and it's going to create some interest right there at the turn. So, that's where it'll get a little interesting, and we'll kind of walk you guys through this as we go. So kicking the mock draft off, and I'll be pulling up the draft board as we're going here. But, the number 1 overall player was Justin Jefferson, and this leaves me in an interesting decision, and it's Jamar Chase or Christian McCaffrey. And with the efforts of trying to explore. I usually go pretty RB heavy in redraft leagues just because they're so valuable. I don't really get the option and the opportunity to go, the zero RB versus hero RB, whatever you want to call it, those strategies. So I'm actually going to go Jamar Chase here and kind of see how it goes. So that puts Dale on the clock. Austin Eckler goes right after. Obviously, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Austin Eckler, and Dale's on the clock. Dale, who are you thinking here?
I'm glad that Austin Eckler went 3 because I was almost gonna tilt and go Travis Kelce. I kind of wanted to do it just to see how it was gonna go, because I know like there's been some people that have been doing that. Also someone else who I thought was either Cooper Kupp or Tyreek Hill could be really interesting, at that point. But I think I'm gonna smash Christian McCaffrey here. He's probably the best running back in the NFL, and he's on a fantastic offense with fantastic opportunities. So I'm smashing Christian McCaffrey.
All right, and Travis Kelce goes off the board right after
At
you.
5.
That was a little surprising. Now, I think this is kind of how I expected it to go, but we'll see how some of the ADP changes on these players over the next couple of weeks. Saquon Barkley was at 6, Cooper Kupp at 7, Bijan Robinson at 8, Tyreek Hill at 9, Stephon Diggs at 10, A.J. Brown at 11, CeeDee Lamb finishes off the first round. I am a little surprised Diggs went above A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb personally, but all right.
Well, I think that's just redraft. In
Fair,
Dynasty,
I
those
guess.
guys would go much before Diggs. But
Yeah.
I mean, I still think Diggs is that number one guy, and I think Diggs' quarterback is better.
I gotta say, I will say that I'm a little bit more down on Diggs lately, and I don't want to eat up too much of your time. I'm giving you a little bit of time to think here, but the whole reason why is, AJ Brown, they didn't add anybody that's going to be a threat to him, and he was very good last year, right? CeeDee Lamb, they actually added guys to that offense, but I think it's going to help him because it's going to free him up a little bit more. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis was banged up last year. They added Dalton Kincaid in the first round. They're talking about using James Cook more and they want to get to be a more run-heavy team just to take more off of Josh Allen's plate. Now, they've said this like 3 years in a row, so, I don't know how much I believe them, but that does just make me feel like Diggs, everything for Diggs points like he's going to see a hit in his volume, and that's just the only thing that scares me. I do think he's still a really good player, but I could see that as a, worst case scenario for him.
No, I fully understand that. So I think
real quick, let me recap. Yeah. So second round, Jonathan Taylor at 2-1, Devontae Adams at 2-2, Patrick Mahomes, first quarterback at 2-3, Derrick Henry at 2-4, Nick Chubb at 2-5, Amon-Ra St. Brown at 2-6, Garrett Wilson at 7, and Josh Jacobs at 8. Putting Dale back on the clock. Dale, what are your thoughts?
Well, I could go quarterback early here, but in redraft, typically I like to wait to get my quarterbacks. Like even in a super flex league, in redraft, I typically like to get them later because I know they're going to score pretty well, and I've been really successful with that. Like I'm in a home league with some friends, and like I've either won or finished second in those leagues because mainly because they kind of joke pick, but but it's because I'm picking better players earlier and not the quarterbacks that can be so hit or miss.
Right.
So I would love to have either Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts, which I think could be really interesting, but I think I'm going to go on a ledge. And I wouldn't mind Jalen Waddle, like he's the next guy up with ADP, but he's a wide receiver 2 in this offense and in that offense. So I think I'm going to go with a wide receiver 1 in Chris Olave.
Ooh.
At 209.
The reaching continues for Chris Olave.
Yes,
You're part of that crowd, huh? I see how it is. it is.
Yeah, I am.
All right. So Josh Allen at 210. Now I'm back on the clock, and I don't think I want to go. Man, this is a tough decision here. I want to see what happens if I don't go with a quarterback here. I just don't really love it. Now, I actually have a couple guys. Jalen Waddle, obviously, I still think that he's going to be really good.
Absolutely.
He was wide receiver 8 last year, and I get it. There's a little bit of touchdown. Now, Mark Andrews is screaming my name a little bit here.
And I really wish you wouldn't scream his name because I want him to fall to me. But you're probably gonna pick him with one of the.
Yeah, I don't love the. See, the problem is I don't love the receivers, and you know, I've already got Jamar Chase. I'm not going T Higgins. There's no way for that. Devonta Smith is there. I don't love that. DK Metcalf, it feels a little rich for some of these guys. Debo, some of the other guys. I think that I can get better value in the next couple of rounds for the receivers. I'm back on the clock at 3-2. I'm not taking Brees yet. I'm just a little scared that he's not going to be the same as what everyone's projecting for him. Tony Pollard's interesting here, but I could honestly see the Dallas Cowboys trading for Jonathan Taylor. I really could. It'd be such a Jerry Jones move.
Right.
And so I'm kind of split here. My thought process is either going Najee Harris and Jahmyr Gibbs, or, you know, Mark Andrews and Najee / Gibbs, whichever one makes it back to me in just 2 picks here. So, man, I'm going to go Mark Andrews just to see how this build kind of falls together and see what happens here. So Jalen Hurts goes at 212, Jalen Waddle at 3-1. So I did get my choice of running back. Dude, I want to believe in Jahmyr Gibbs, but Najee is in complete control of that backfield, and I do believe he's going to be better. So I'm going to take Najee here, and I'm going to start this draft off with Jamar Chase, Mark Andrews, and Najee Harris, and I'm going to be feeling pretty good about that. That puts T. Higgins went off the board right after me, and then you on the clock at 4 here.
Yeah, so I have CMC and Olave. So I think I have a pretty good 1-2 punch. And I think with that, I mean, I wouldn't mind having Gibbs myself or either like Lamar, but I still think again, I don't like reaching for a quarterback.
Right.
You know, and I'm not in love with Pollard. I'm not in love with Stevenson. Breece Hall scares me year 1 after an ACL, so I'm out on him. I think I'm going to go wide receiver again, and I think I'm going to go with DK Metcalf. I think I'm going to be drinking the Geno juice, and I think I'm going to have a solid wide receiver 2 on my team.
The only thing about DK is I just feel like Lockett and JSN are better values right now for what they're going to give you. But I don't hate it. Like, I do still believe in DK Metcalf, but he just feels a little rich right here in the 3rd round. But I do think that he's a dominant force there. So right after you, Tony Pollard at 5, Devonta Smith at 6, Travis Etienne at 3-7, Ramondre at 3-8, Breece Hall at 9, Debo Samuel at 10, Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, and AFC North quarterbacks here back-to-back at 11 and 12, capping off the 3rd round. I am a little surprised. I don't know if that's going to be real life in 1 quarterback leagues, but what are your thoughts? Is that a little rich?
I think that is a little rich. You know, I could see like maybe 5th round for those guys. I think that would make sense.
I would say 4th. I could stomach it, right? But
yes. 100%.
Yeah, it's a little scary in the 3rd. Calvin Ridley at 4-1, George Kittle at 4-2, Jahmyr Gibbs at 3, Keenan Allen at 4. Keenan Allen has to be one of the best values in the league this year.
He is.
I am so on board with that.
I agree with that.
Aaron Jones at 4-5, ahead of Kenneth Walker at 6. That's a little interesting.
I'm not really surprised because Walker's injured. I think Aaron Jones is he's been sneaky good the past couple years.
Yeah, but dude, I am not in love with Aaron Jones. Like, if Aaron Rodgers was still here, maybe, because you know that Aaron Jones was in the trust tree, right? That's the one problem with Jordan Love is we don't know who his trust tree is going to be, right? So it's entirely possible it could be A.J. Dillon, you know, versus Aaron Jones. We're kind of projecting, rewarding him based on what he's done in the past, but it's just a little bit scary for me there. But, you know, he should be okay. But he's 28. Right. Scary. Definitely scary.
It is. And I get that. So
Right after Kenneth Walker, 4-7 was TJ Hawkinson, and then Joe Mixon right before you at 8. You're on the clock here. Who you thinking?
I think.
Oh, I know who you're thinking.
Who? Tell me.
Do I really have to tell you?
I mean, if you want to, go ahead. Try me. Why not?
It's J.K. Dobbins.
It's actually not. I'm a little worried about Dobbins.
Okay. The hold in.
He hasn't been. Yeah, the hold in. Like, he hasn't been practicing. Like, he hasn't been like 8 straight practices.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little concerning. Trying to pick up on a new that's concerning for me.
Yeah, no.
So,
I'm with you.
I am a little worried about it.
Oh, I know you're going.
I'm gonna pick another Ohio State player. Actually,
Justin Fields.
Yeah, it's gonna be Justin Fields. I am smashing Justin Fields here. I honestly think he's going to be the QB1 this year. I think he has a good chance to throw. Well, it's to be the first Bears quarterback to throw over 4,000 yards. I think he's going to be fantastic this year. So, I'm taking a onesie position, and I thought about going tight end early for my onesie, but with how everything fell, I'm very happy with Justin Fields there.
Yeah, and ironically, I'm going to be going a onesie position here too. Because I have to. Well, I could go the other position. Let me look here. Yeah, okay. So I'm actually going to go Miles Sanders here at 4-11. When you look at the other guys on the board,
sniped me a little bit there.
Yeah, there we go. When you look at the other guys on the board, I just don't love it. I like Cam Akers a lot here coming up soon, but Madison's right here. He's banged up right now. J.K. Dobbins, Dameon Pierce. Give me Miles Sanders over Dameon Pierce all day. DeAndre Swift, again. There's really no other running backs. I think it's kind of the end of the tier. And piling Najee with Miles Sanders, 2 guys who I think can be like workhorses for their team, is just way too valuable for me.
Right.
And then DJ Moore and Terry McLaurin go off the board. I'm a little shocked by that. I'm surprised the AI didn't take a running back there. That's what I was a little afraid of, right?
Yeah, that's a little weird that they didn't take a running back.
So I would have been safe taking this onesie position last time, but the onesie position, dude, I really want Jerry Jeudy here. I really do. I know he's not going to make it back to me, but
no, he definitely won't.
But I know for a fact this guy's not making it back to me either, and I'm going Justin Herbert here at 5-2.
So you took 2 onesie positions there.
I did.
Herbert and Andrews, and that's wild to me.
But the difference is, so it is scary, trust me. But the reason why is because I am locked and loaded at running back with 2 workhorse guys. Jamar Chase is arguably one of the best in the league. Just like you believe Justin Fields can be the number 1 quarterback this year, I am the same about Justin Herbert. I am madly in love with Justin Herbert this year. And then Mark Andrews, again, if I can just lock up my running backs, my quarterback and my tight end with Jamar Chase, I am feeling good, you know what I mean? So I don't have to worry about it too much when it comes to my flexes here in just a little bit. So yes, it is scary taking one, but I feel like I have the chance for the number 1 tight end, the number 1 wide receiver, and the number 1 quarterback. So at that point, you just got to find warm bodies, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I think that could be a really risky move, but I like it. If
Justin Herbert wasn't there, I would have definitely punted on quarterback too. It's just him at 5-2 is just too much value for me.
It is too tempting. I get that. So,
right.
So after you went Dameon Pierce, which I thought about taking Pierce. Like I love him in redraft. Dynasty I'm off, but in redraft he's very interesting this year. I can see him getting a lot of touches, stuff like that. I could go Jerry Jeudy, but I'm not quite sipping the Kool-Aid like you are. I could.
Don't believe in Sean Payton, huh? All right.
I mean, I do, but I'm not I'm not sipping the I'm not sipping the Jeudy Kool-Aid. So
all right.
I think I really wanted to go Terry McLaurin. And I was really hoping that he would fall to me.
Team 1 and Team 8 are colluding against us. I think.
Yes, 100%.
These guys are getting booted. They're cheating. They're obviously trying to make deals.
It's super weird. Yes, I'm not It is collusion. 100%
And real quick,
collusion.
if you can't see, we do have the draft board on YouTube, but go check out the YouTube Dynasty After Dark YouTube channel. You can follow along the draft board with us there. But Team 1 has Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, and Terry McLaurin. And Team 8 has Bijan Robinson, Nick Chubb, Ramondre, and Aaron Jones. So a couple interesting AI builds here, but I can see some people doing it in real life. That's a good one. That's a really good no quarterback or no running back lineup there for Team 1.
Absolutely. Well, and I honestly, I mean, I think I know the 0 RB truthers were coming out in full force last year, but I think it's going to take a little swing back to the mean, you know.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, but I think with my next pick, I know I talked about this guy just last time with J.K. Dobbins. I think he's going to figure out the contract. I think if they give him just a little bit more money, blah blah blah, like maybe do an injury clause in there, you know, I think it's going to be fine. I think if he's there and he's running full force with Todd Monken, I think he has a very fair chance to be a top 5 running back. And so I'm going to smash JK and hopefully have 2 top 5 running backs.
There you go. Now, I'm a little softer on JK. I think he can finish as an RB1 for sure, but I'm a little soft on the top 5 compared to you. Yeah, but it's definitely, he can do it. He's explosive enough.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I do think his pass catching opportunity is going to be a little bit more than in years past.
Yeah, for sure. So Hopkins goes right after that at 5'5", Jerry Jeudy at 5'6", Alexander Madison at 7, Drake London at 8, Dallas Goedert at 9. This one was a little surprising. Christian Watson at 5'10", feels rich, not gonna lie.
I think with the hype from last year, it's not, but
it was a different quarterback.
I know, and it's a whole
Green Bay is hard to value right now for redraft, just because of Jordan Love. The Jordan Love factor changes everything.
Everything. Yes.
Cam Akers at 11. I do like that. That's a really good value. DeAndre Swift at 12. Kyle Pitts at 6'1" is also amazing value there.
Oh yeah, I also thought about going with Pitts last time, but I already have. Like I don't like taking 2 onesie positions that high.
Oh, you just throwing shots. All right, okay.
James, I am. I mean, I'm just being honest.
James Conner at 6'2", Chris Godwin. I was hoping he'd make it back to me at 6'3", Michael Pittman at 6'4", Trevor Lawrence at 5, Darren Waller at 6'6", Dalvin Cook at 6'7", Christian Kirk at 6'8". Now, that's a little interesting. There's like a 2.5 round gap between him and Calvin Ridley, and
that's wild. I would much rather have Ridley than Kirk.
For sure.
100%.
Well, I think Kirk is going to be closer to Ridley than this gap.
Yes, and I honestly would have been okay if taking Ridley here. You know,
for sure. There's no way he's lasting this far, especially with the camp hype.
No. So. No, I agree. So I'm back on the clock here. I'm glad I went Dobbins. I thought about going James Conner, but it felt a little bit much at 5'4".
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd rather have Dobbins.
It did. Yeah. I would have rather have Dobbins at that point, but like if he would have came back to me, I probably would have taken him again. But I would love to take Tyler Lockett here. I think he would be fun. But I already have a Seattle.
You have Metcalf, yeah.
Yeah, I already have Metcalf. So that might take out JSN potentially there.
What about Ayuk?
I thought about Ayuk, but I have McCaffrey. So I have someone who's going to be taking a lot of pass catching.
That's fair.
From Brock Purdy, and I don't always like to double up. Like I don't mind having like a receiver paired up with a quarterback, but I don't necessarily like having 2 teammates personally. Yeah. So I think I'm going to take a guy who is going to have a very decent floor. You know, he's going to have a horrific offense and a bad quarterback, probably for most of the year. I'm going to take Marquise Hollywood Brown.
Ooh, that's a fun one. That is definitely a fun one. I'm just a little scared by the whole Kyler thing, but
absolutely. But I think there's going to be a built-in floor because who else is there to throw to?
Yeah, the whole offense with the new OC and everything just scares me a little bit as well.
It's going to be wonky. It's going to be a mess. And I think James Conner and Hollywood are really gonna be the two shining stars, and that's it.
Yeah, so I'm actually probably going to surprise you a little bit with this next pick, and I'm actually going to take Mike Williams here. And
I thought about taking Mike Williams also.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, what is Team 1 doing? All right.
All wide receivers. Yep. I love it, baby. Love it.
So I took Mike Williams because when he's healthy, dude is a rock star, right? It's just, you just know you're going to lose him for 4 or 5 games next year, right? And I get to pair him. It's a stack with Justin Herbert. So you'll like to see that, when Mike Williams is out there and healthy, Justin Herbert's going to have a good week as well, typically, right? So I just like pairing that and filling out my second wide receiver with a little bit of a roller coaster, high ceiling, low floor type of guy, because I have Jamar Chase, who I think is, again, he has the potential to be the number 1 overall wide receiver this year. So I think Mike Williams, I like him a lot. And I might actually surprise you again with this next pick. After my pick, though, Jackson Smith-Njigba and George Pickens went, leaving me on the clock here.
Yeah. So for Team 1 looks a lot like the guy that I'm in a league with, this guy who, like, we have that's like an ultra flex, where basically all of the positions except like one quarterback is a flex.
Right.
And like he basically took all wide receivers. I think he has one running back on his squad.
Nice.
So I think that's what Team 1 is about to do. So it's wild.
Yeah, it feels like it. He's just gonna finish out the draft with. He's going real hero RB for this team.
I love it.
I'm actually going to go Tyler Lockett and just kind of try and hope that in the 7th round it feels too good as my wide receiver 3. I get it. He's older and everything, but I'm not that worried about JSN, and at least in this season. I think that JSN is going to be just fine long term, but give me Tyler Lockett as my number 3 here.
I like it. All right, so so in between you and me went Alvin Kamara, which I think he's gonna. I've been hearing. I heard some rumblings yesterday that he is planning on being suspended. So for how many games? That's a coin flip. So if you're a Jamal Williams / Kendre Miller owner, I think that's good. I mean, probably more Jamal Williams the first couple weeks, personally. So
right.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting here. So. All right, so I already have my quarterback, running back, and wide receiver starting positions all filled. So I'm down to my flex and a tight end. So I can go crazy. I don't hate Rachaad White in redraft, but I know that Tampa defense is going to be, or that it's a Tampa offense is going to be hot garbage, and I don't really want any part of it.
You're not thinking that he could be the Kareem Hunt with Baker? Kareem Hunt was always really good with Baker.
Yeah, he was, but I personally don't want really any part of that offense. I think it's going to be a mess, and I think it's just going to be bad.
Fair enough.
So, I think I'm going to be in. Also, David Montgomery would be fun here. As a sneaky 7th rounder, but I think I'm going to go receiver again. I love picking wide receivers because I feel they have the most value personally. Like they hold a lot of value, I should say.
Right.
So I'm either thinking between Jordan Addison and Jahan Dotson. So I think I'm going to go with the guy who has the better quarterback. And I'm going to go with Jordan Addison.
I thought you were going to say Jahan Dotson. I mean,
I was almost going to pull that on you, but I mean, I really do like Dotson this year, but I just think there's too many variables in DC. I mean, I honestly think that Jake Briskett's going to start, but it's definitely going to be interesting. So
yeah, for sure. Jordan Addison. I think if you didn't take him, I thought about him with my last pick, but with the rookie factor, I just wanted to finish because you already had 3 wide receivers. It makes a little bit more sense for you. I wanted to fill out my top 3 with a more solidified option in Tyler Lockett, but I don't hate it at all. Isaiah Pacheco goes right after that. Mike Evans, Javonte Williams, David Njoku, Rachaad White, David Montgomery, James Cook, and then Deontay Johnson finishes out the 7th round. Jahan Dotson goes at 8-1. I was kind of hoping he'd make it back to me. I know it was a long shot, but
he probably long shot.
Right. Yeah. Brandon Cooks, Evan Ingram, Treylon Burks, A.J. Dillon, Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson at 8-6 and 8-7. A little interesting there. And then Quentin Johnson at 8-8. What are you thinking here with your pick?
Well, for one, I'm surprised that Njoku and Ingram both went off the board there. I mean, I feel that if we were in a longer draft, that might be a little bit different.
Maybe.
Potentially. But I mean, I would rather have 4 guys than both of them. But I mean, honestly here, if I didn't have Chris Olave already, which I know I've said that a couple times, like I would smash Michael Thomas. I think he's gonna have a solid probably a solid wide receiver 2 year. In my opinion, I mean, I'm a little bit higher on the New Orleans wide receivers than you are, but I think I'm going to go with another my guy in Antonio Gibson. I think he's going to have another breakout season, and I think he's going to have a really good role in DC with Eric Bieniemy. I think they're going to throw a lot to him. And I think he's going to be another star in that offense.
You stole him right under my nose, man.
I was doing my best,
under my
man.
nose.
I love it.
All right. So, after that pick was actually Kadarius Toney, which I'm not sad to see there. Don't care.
Which I think is a big mistake if you take him in the first 10 rounds.
Yeah, for sure.
In my opinion.
Yep, I'm with you. All right, so that puts me on the clock here, and I'm actually, because I know that Team 1 has to take at least one running back here with the next pick, I'm actually going to take a running back here and just trying to decide. So Rashad Penny's still on the board, Zach Charbonnet, a little interesting there. I know he's got the injury that he's working through right now as well. Jamal Williams, Brian Robinson, Khalil Herbert, Devin Achane. So I'm actually going to take, this is the guy I'm going to take, Samaje Perine, and it's 100% due to the Sean Payton factor, because Sean Payton is just so good, and we know that his running backs are always going to be very good. Javonte is still working back from the ACL tear, and, you know, all signs are positive for Javonte. I just traded for him actually in a Dynasty League today, so you know I'm hoping for good things for Javonte. But I do think that there's enough work in the system that they can make both guys good. And Samaje is my third guy. Like, I only need him in a worst case scenario, and I think that's where he would be of good benefit for my roster. All right, so after that, Pat Freiermuth and then Rashad Penny on the turn. Dude, Team 1 went full no running back. That's
just wild.
They waited till their last 2 picks to get a running back here. Yeah. I respect it. So my next pick here is actually going to be Michael Thomas is interesting.
Yes.
Juju's really interesting as well, but I'm actually going to go this guy because he's a post-hype sleeper, Gabe Davis. And yes, suck it.
I was gonna take Gabe Davis and be so happy with my team.
Good. You stole Gibson from me, so I stole Gabe Davis. No, I think that Gabe Davis, the hate on him has gotten too far. Like, last year he was what, a 4th round pick, 3rd round pick, somewhere in that range. Yeah. People were very high on Gabe Davis.
Overhyped, yes.
Right. Yeah, and definitely. He got banged up in week 3 last year. He played through a high ankle sprain, which is supposed to take at least a month to come back from, right? He came back in 2 weeks, and people are just acting like, oh, he was fully healthy when he came back. But he wasn't. He wasn't fully healthy. He came out after the season, and they're always banged up, blah, blah, blah. We knew he had this injury, and he came out at the end of the season and said, yeah, I really wasn't able to accelerate the way that I wanted to all season long. Oh, wait, look, he wasn't able to do what he wanted to do all season long, and now everyone just ignores that fact. So Gabe Davis, I think that, and he's part of the reason why I'm a little bit nervous about Stephon Diggs, right? I think that they're going to use Kincaid a little bit more underneath. James Cook is going to open things up a little bit as well. And Gabe Davis is still a very good outside option. And, if Gabe Davis is going to be a superstar, that means Diggs is going to take a big hit, right? So that's kind of the way that I'm working through it a little bit. So in round 9, I'm definitely willing to take that shot on Gabe Davis. It gives a little bit more volatility to my roster, but, man, when these wide receivers hit, dude, they're going to be superstars.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with him being in a flex, that's good. I am worried about Mike Williams, day to day. I'm
Right.
worried about Mike Williams. So, but I do like that. Like having some explosiveness there in your flex and stuff like that. So I think it's an interesting roster that you have.
A good one, you mean?
So it's interesting. It's fun.
All right, you're up. Michael Thomas was in between us, so that puts you on the clock here. What are you thinking?
So I could go steady with Juju. I think he's gonna have a pretty good year. Overall, I can see him having a good year. I wouldn't be shocked if he is the target leader in New England. I would not be shocked about that. They don't really have anybody else to throw to. So, other than tight ends, you gonna
take the tight end here, or you gonna punt?
I think I'm gonna punt until my last pick, because I have 3 or 4 guys that I think I would be happy with there at the tight end position that could be relevant enough. So I wouldn't mind Elijah Moore. I think he could be a potential wide receiver 2 in Cleveland, but I'm still a little bit worried about Watson. Overall. I also thought about taking one of the Baltimore guys. Not Odell. I would either take Bateman or Flowers. I also thought about a potential spicy take I had with Sutton being a wide receiver 1, but I don't think I'm going to step out on that limb for right now. I wanted. I think I could. I honestly could probably get him at my next pick in the 10th round if I wanted to.
Probably.
I probably could, in all honesty. So I think I'm going to go with somebody I think is going to be solid this year, and I think I'm going to go Juju Smith-Schuster.
Fair enough. Good volume there, definitely.
Yeah.
As long as he's healthy. I know he's kind of working through some stuff, but he should be fine. Jamal Williams goes right after you at 5. Tua at 6. Oh, team 6. Double quarterback. Didn't see that one coming. Lots of double quarterbacks. What are we doing here? Tua at 6. Brian. You know what's funny though? I could see that happening in real drafts.
100% will happen. It's going to 100% happen in real drafts.
Brian Robinson at 7, Zay Flowers at 8, Anthony Richardson at 9, Kirk Cousins at 10. Big run of quarterbacks here. Zach Charbonnet at 11, Khalil Herbert at 12, Aaron Rodgers in the 10-1, Dalton Schultz at 2, Chig Okonkwo at 3, Elijah Moore at 4. Hey, he wouldn't have made it back to you. Crazy.
He almost made it back to me. Close
Sutton
enough.
Made it to 10-5. Jamison Williams at 6. I like that value on Jamison quite a bit, actually. Alan Lazard at 7, and then Geno Smith at 8. Leaving you on the clock. Take your tight end, sir. Who are you going to pick?
Yeah, I think I am going. I would honestly love to take Dalton Kincaid and have that rookie magic,
Do it.
But I think I'm gonna pair up my my onesie positions.
Stack.
What's that?
I said you're stacking.
I'm gonna be stacking my onesies, and I'm gonna go Cole Kmet. Like they just gave him the bag this off season, and I think they're gonna use him more in this offense, and he's just gonna be a fun little player. Well, he's not a little guy, but
he's gonna be a fun big player.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he's 6'6", he's a grown ass man. So I'm going to take Cole Kmet with my tight end pick, and then at 10-10 goes Dalton Kincaid, which I would have been happy with either of them, but I'm a little bit worried about rookie tight ends. Even in redraft, I don't necessarily. I know that's a cliche, blah 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 blah, but like there is a lot of data in that. So.
Right. For sure. I could definitely see that as a potential issue. Now, spoiler alert, I'm not going tight end with my last pick here, unfortunately, for most of you guys out there. I know you wanted to see me go Sam Laporta here, but I just won't do it. Running back wise, so I've got Miles Sanders, Najee Harris, and Samaje Perine. The guys on the board are less than exciting.
Yes, they are.
I guess
Devon
Tank
A-Chain,
Bigsby.
man. Come on.
Tank
Take
Bigsby.
Devon A-Chain.
Nah, if I were to
do.
take a running back, it would be Tank Bigsby here.
Right.
I do like all the reports that we're getting out of Jacksonville. And
love it. I know, I agree.
one thing people have to remember with ETN is this regime did not pick ETN. He was not picked by Doug Peterson. It was a Urban Meyer pick, right? So they have no loyalty to him. Now that doesn't mean they're going to completely discard him, right?
On the other hand, I did hear Doug Peterson say today that he wants ETN to be a 1,500 to 1,600 yard rusher, which I promptly laughed at because I don't think his body could withstand that. But
for sure. There's no way. There's no way. So I'm actually going to finish off. I've got all these volatile wide receivers. Might as well keep it going. Figure out who's going to be what. There's no real safe options here, unfortunately, at wide receiver, in my opinion.
Adam Thielen?
I mean, safe
I know.
as in bad, I guess.
You're right.
But there's two wide receivers here from the same team, back-to-back, that are top of the board, Odell Beckham Jr. and Rashad Bateman. Now, this is redraft, so I actually think, oh, man, this is close. It's a coin flip between these two.
Jay, take him.
I think I will. I'm actually going to take OBJ over Rashad Bateman. If Rashad Bateman was healthy, I would 100% do him first. It just scares me a little bit there that he's not fully healthy. Finishes off the draft at 10-12 with Devon A-Chain. He had to take that pick, forcing Team 1.
I love that Team 1 has Rashad Penny and Devon A-Chain as the running.
Yeah, so
amazing.
It's pretty interesting. So running through our rosters here, I've got Justin Herbert at the top in my 1Z quarterback position here. Running back, I've got Najee, Miles Sanders, and Samaje Perine. I think that those trio of guys would be just fine for most rosters out there. At wide receiver, I've got Jamar Chase, Mike Williams, Tyler Lockett, Gabe Davis, and OBJ. Should be a little bit more volatile, but should be able to win me some weeks for sure. And then at my tight end, my other 1Z spot is Mark Andrews. What are your thoughts on run down your roster?
So for my roster, I have QB1 Justin Fields, and at my starting running back, I got CMC and J.K. Dobbins. For my wide receivers, I have smooth routes Chris Olave, DK Metcalf, and Marquise Hollywood Brown. And then for my 1Z tight end position, I punted and got Cole Kmet to pair with Justin Fields. And then for my flex, I got Jordan Addison, Antonio Gibson, and Juju. So I'll be very honest. I love my roster better than yours. I'm just gonna go out and say it.
I mean, you can, but it's okay to be wrong, Dale. It's all right.
I know, but I like Herbert where you picked him, and I love Andrews. I probably should have picked him at 209. I probably should have, but I kind of wanted to see. I just wanted a piece of Olave and to see how it went. So
yeah, no, I
think, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think overall for yours, I think it's pretty good. It's pretty solid with Najee and Sanders. Like they're gonna be the stakeholders in that backfield.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little worried about Perine. I think towards the end of the year, I think Javante's gonna get healthy, and then he's gonna play and take some volume from Perine personally. Possibly,
or he could regress, right? Like where he's not fully back to where he kind of wanted to be. But even then, I think it's Sean Payton. Sean Payton has never really, like even Alvin Kamara. Oh, he was amazing with Sean Payton, but he never really got 100% of the work, right? That's where that's where I think that Samaje will have lasting value. I think he's more of the Kamara, air quotes, for this offense than Javonte is. Javante's more of the Mark Ingram for this group. So I do think that Samaje can have more third down work as the season goes on and just kind of keep that. But no, I do think that this build was interesting, right? And I like going Jamar Chase at 2. And the reason why is, looking at the receivers that would have made it back to me in round 2, like if I would have gone Christian McCaffrey at 2, I don't love Olave at 211 if he would have made it there, or Jalen Waddle or T. Higgins or DK Metcalf as my number 1 guy. I am perfectly fine with Najee and Miles Sanders being my top 2 running backs. Like, that is perfectly fine for me. So I do think that because if you're starting that highly in the draft, going receiver with one of those top couple of picks is way more valuable, in my opinion. Yeah. Now, if you can be Team 7 here that had Cooper Kupp and Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7 and 2-6, then okay, fine, sure. But like, there was no way that I was going to be able to get either one of those guys on the backswing. So it got a little interesting just because of the Mark Andrews and Justin Herbert both in the top 5 rounds. I think I had to sacrifice a little bit of stability for that, 100%. Like, instead of Justin Herbert, I would have gone Jerry Jeudy, right, if I would have gone another pick. Now, Jerry Jeudy, I think, ups my floor, but Justin Herbert, again, I think that he has the potential to be the number 1 guy. So, in my mind, he ups my ceiling a little bit more there versus like a Deshaun Watson or a Dak Prescott or somebody like that. Right. So, it's a little risky and it got a little weird. You definitely sacrifice some of that stability there in the mid rounds, but yeah, I like this squad quite a bit, and I think it can do some serious damage, so it'll be a fun time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with mine, I think things could have went a lot differently if I took Andrews or like even if I took Kelsey at 104. But
right.
I think for me it was too appetizing to have CMC fall to me. At that point, right. I think if he didn't, I probably would have taken Kelsey and seen how that went, because I know that's going to happen in some leagues, and some people are going to get Kelsey happy, and it's going to be really interesting. So
yeah, for sure.
I think for my wide receivers, I don't have anything flashy, but I have really solid wide receivers, and that's what I think I'm really content with that, because honestly, like, if JK isn't having it, like, I have Gibson, who I think is going to be pretty solid this year to fill in for that. And then I can always fill in somebody else in the flex with my later picks.
Yeah, and I will say the only thing about your roster that I'm not in love with, right? CMC and Fields, those two can just pop off and win you a week between the two of them, right? But Chris Olave, there's a little bit of projection there, and I get it. I understand the projection. I just don't agree with it. Like, that's all it boils down to. Yeah. But DK, I do think that he's not going to be a top 12 guy, and then you pair that with Addison, Brown. Like, if Olave doesn't live up to the billing, you have a bunch of good but not great guys at wide receiver that could just, you have the week winning ability in Fields and McCaffrey, but the receivers just could be mid enough that they don't win it for you or solidify it, I guess. That's what I'm kind of thinking. But
and
they could definitely pop off though at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, I like having stability. I think anybody wants some stability, but I think between the two of us, I have the most stable team, and
for sure,
but yours could be really interesting, popping off with, like, Mike Williams could pop off, and stuff like that. But I know I'm projecting with Chris Olave. I really like Chris Olave this year and going forward.
Oh, I get it.
And with Metcalf, and if we're going off your projections with Metcalf, like, he's going to be the wide receiver 1 in that Geno led offense. So
right,
I could see some magical things happening with my team.
For sure. No, I agree with you 100%. Lockett could definitely take a step back. Mike Williams could be injured again. There's a lot that could go wrong for my team, for sure. So, let us know your thoughts on these two rosters, but you can leave a comment down below and tell us who you think won in the face-to-face head-to-head mock draft here. But you can find us again on Twitter at TDC_Calvin. You can find Dale on Twitter at Dynasty_Dale. We are on Twitter with the podcast as well at FF After Dark. That's what it was. But yeah, make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing on the video if you like all this content. We just wrapped up so much content for you guys. It was a ton of fun, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this little bit of a cleanser at the end of the long off season here, and as we start to get into training camp. So we will have more for you guys next week. Dale, any last thoughts here?
Nope.
All right, until next time, thank you guys so much for listening, and have a good night.